Are there aliens? Do aliens exist? I'm thrilled the White House called me tonight because I'm actually working on a hip-hop album. It's a concept album about the life of someone I think embodies hip-hop, Treasury Secretary Alexander Hamilton. You laugh, but it's true. He was a penniless orphan in St. Croix of illegitimate birth. He became George Washington's right-hand man, became Treasury Secretary, caught beef with every other founding father, and all on the strength of his writing. I think he embodies the word's ability to make a difference. Lin-Manuel Miranda, White House Poetry Jam with the Obamas, November 2nd, 2009. What is the significance of the word? What is the word? The Joe Rogan Experience podcast, currently at 19.2 million subscribers on YouTube. If you're unfamiliar, Joe Rogan sits at a table in a small studio with a few microphones, has a guest, and talks for about 2.5 to 3 hours. And he talks to anyone and everyone. That's the significance of the word. The printing press, invented 500 years ago, providing mass production of the printed word. So even the commoner had access to reading material. Now we have libraries, stores, our homes filled with books, magazines, other reading material. That's the value of the word. Social media. Everyone is talking, sharing, commenting, informing. That's the popularity of the word. The internet. We live in the information age. Search anything and everything. That's the interest of the word. Communication. Think about it. In an intimate and familial relationship, communication is key. That's the priority of the word. Writers and lyricists. Giving insight and inspiration through novels, movies, shows, theater, songs, raps, poetry. Think about how much we lean on writers for insight, for inspiration and comfort. That's the meaningfulness of the word. Legal documents. Defining the parameters for contractual business and civil relationships, including things like the founding of a nation. Think about Israel, for example, which we have tracked in the Old Testament, all the documentation of the material that helped form and birth them as a nation. Think about a young nation like ours with the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, or the founders making the word foundational and central for our society in the First Amendment, all of which Lin-Manuel Miranda is emphasizing in his speech at the White House. That's the primacy of the word. What is the word? The word is the thing that defines, enlightens, shares, and reforms. Communication reveals, mediates, and transforms by nature. The word reveals. Communication is thought that comes out of a person. Communication gets pushed out by a defined living entity. Because the words come directly from within that entity, they express something true and accurate about what that entity is. The words reveal something about the entity because that entity decided to share and express. Speech is thought that comes out. Once hidden within, now out and able to be heard or seen. It's revealed. The word mediates. Communication is non-existent if there is nothing, or if there is just a one-dimensional singularity and nothing else. In order for communication to be a thing, there has to be multiple elements because communication functions necessarily as a reality operating between two or more things. The term communication has its roots in the unity between things, common union. It's relational by nature. The meaningfulness of communication rests on the fact that it connects things. We can share and express through language because others are there to hear, receive, and interact with what is articulated. Communication bonds. Because communication mediates, it brings separate entities together, opening to allow another to see and know oneself, as well as learn and receive another through the transfer of information. The word transforms. Tyranny or force can produce particular action in a person, but because the action is not believed in and rooted in the person, it cannot be sustained. There is division in a person between their belief and action. It's the promise of security in absolutes, but results in slavery. It occurs in areas like totalitarianism, authoritarianism, with examples like communism, Nazi Germany, pandemic lockdowns, or narratives like 1984. Deception and/or misinformation can produce particular belief and action, but it ultimately produces severance between self and outside reality, which results in self-doubt, disillusion, and failure. It's the promise of truth and freedom, but it has the results of slavery and chaos. We see examples of this with propaganda, fake news, gossip, and ideology. What about wishful thinking? Wishful thinking can move the emotions and inspire for a moment, but without being grounded and connected to what is true, it will fizzle and fade. It promises the pleasure of freedom, but results in chaos. It produces division and conflict in self, fragmentation and disorder in outside reality, and confusion, conflict, and demoralization between self and outside reality. We see examples of this in the sexual revolution, utopianism, hedonism, and individualism, identifying as anything you want, whenever you want, based on whatever you want. Truthful explanation is able to reach the mind, go all the way down into the soul, and sit and test thought and belief, produce a change in mind, heart, will, and action that can be sustained. Not only does truth bring the individual person into alignment with themselves, but brings the person into alignment with all reality for all time. Communication provides new information, allowing for adjustment and updating. It throws out old info, bad info, and incorporates the new. This reality will never be exhausted or secondary. In order to be living and ever living, communication will need to remain as a central element. In the opening lines of the Bible, the narrative goes from formless and void, darkness was upon the face of the deep, to saw that it was good, through the means of God said. The word produces transformation by nature, which was Lin-Manuel Miranda's point in his speech at the White House. Stay tuned for part 2. Do aliens